Hey friends, Barkey J Dog here, back with another movie review. This time we're taking a look at a real cult classic. This is a film that featured the work of two masters of special effects, Douglas Trumbull and John Dykstra. A film that introduced believable droids 5 years before Star Wars, and a film that was made on a scanty budget in the early 70s, which still has big things to say today. That's right, this time out we're talking about the science fiction classic Silent Running from 1972. One of my viewers, Michael, sent me this off of my wish list. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I've always loved this movie, and this is a great disc. Has a lot of extras and interviews and everything. This was a real treat, so really, thank you. So, Silent Running, what's it all about? Well, the Earth of the future is highly advanced, and yet they've pretty much eliminated nature from the planet. There are no forests or plants or anything. What they've done is take a sampling of Earth's biosphere and place these into giant domes, which are then launched into space on board these freighters and parked near Saturn. Our hero is Freeman Lowell, a man who has spent years on the project and is stationed aboard the Valley Forge along with 3 other crewmen. Lowell is a true believer and hopes the project will lead to the refoliation of the Earth. The other crewmen think he's nuts. They're all bored and want to go home. Lowell has a real connection to nature and hopes to lead the project to return Earth's biosphere to its rightful place. But he's in for a big disappointment when a recall is issued. Humans, it seems, have no more use for nature, and the domes are to be jettisoned and destroyed with nuclear charges, the freighters to be returned to commercial service. As the domes start getting blasted into oblivion, along with any hope for the re-greening of Earth, Lowell is pushed to the edge. He takes a stand and determines to save at least one of the domes. Things spiral out of control when he's forced to kill the other crewmen and steals the Valley Forge via a staged accident. As the Valley Forge plunges towards Saturn's rings in what Lowell hopes will be a successful escape maneuver, he has long hours alone in isolation in which to grapple with the guilt of what he's done. He saved the last dome, but the price was high. Bruce Dern stars here in somewhat of a departure from his usual fare. He once starred in a movie where his character was a creepy psycho. This was a big break for him that was both lucky and unlucky. In a way, it was his downfall. See, Dern played crazy so well. That's all the work the poor guy could get for like a decade. Crazies, killers, psychos, druggies, crazed Vietnam veterans. A movie needed any of that, they'd get Bruce Dern. Black Sunday from 1977 is a good example. A really engrossing film where Dern plays a scary domestic terrorist. In The Cowboys, he was such a psycho he even killed John Wayne. I remember seeing a clip from the Dick Cavett show where an actor said he didn't want to wind up like Bruce Dern. That's how bad things were for Dern. He got totally typecast, but to be fair, he did play those characters very well. Yet Bruce Dern was a very serious actor and a serious student of the craft of acting. He worked his way up from the stage to film and television roles, bringing a serious professionalism and work ethic with him. So there was way more to Bruce Dern and way more he could play than just crazy psychos. Sadly, we don't have Many actors with the dedication to the craft and artistry of acting, like Bruce Dern. These days, we have people like Brie Larson calling themselves actors. Really? Come on. Well, Dern does bring a bit of the crazy here. After all, he does kill the crew. This isn't a story about a scary, crazed psycho. Silent Running is the story of a man driven to the edge to defend his beliefs and has to face the guilt as well as the consequences of his actions. And Dern plays that character masterfully. First-time director, special effects wizard Douglas Trumbull only got to make this movie due to his reputation of having worked on 2001: A Space Odyssey, and he delivered a fine, thoughtful film. The movie was mostly shot aboard a decommissioned aircraft carrier, from which the spacecraft takes its name, the Valley Forge. The vessel was waiting to be cut up for scrap and was an affordable solution that fit the limited budget Trumbull had to work with. The only other set was Dome Number 1, which stood in for the other domes too. A partial set built in a nearby aircraft hangar, saving more on costs. So all of the spaces you see other than the dome are in an actual naval vessel, repainted and dressed as a spacecraft. That gives the Valley Forge a look and a sense of scale not usually seen in sci-fi movies at the time, and certainly not with the meager budget Silent Running had. The service droids were operated by people who had lost limbs, thus creating robots with a shape unlike anything seen before, and also imbuing them with human characteristics despite their having no dialogue. The weird triangular cargo containers and the odd little go-karts the crew drives around add to the futuristic setting. Trumbull wasn't setting out to make a cult classic. He was just trying to make his story as well as he could. He achieved a number of great things with Silent Running, but the studio didn't understand it and didn't promote it. The movie died of apathy and faded away. That is, until it came on TV. After enough showings on weekend television, the film took on a cult status, one richly deserved. Granted, Silent Running is, in several ways, a product of its time. The hairstyles are pretty dated, sure, but what I mostly mean are two things. First is the ecology theme, something that came out of the rebellion of the 1960s and came into full flower, so to speak, in the 1970s. At the time, ecology was all the rage. Woodsy Owl encouraged kids to give a hoot and not pollute. Native Americans cried at seeing highways littered with trash, and TV shows like Grizzly Adams showed people the value that comes from caring for the wilderness. Movies like The Wilderness Family and the music of John Denver hewed closely to ecological themes and getting back to nature. Silent Running is a culmination, a concentration of some of those ideas, and shows us what we could lose if we're too careless in pursuit of advancing technology. The other way the picture is dated comes from the soundtrack. Now, most of the music here is phenomenal. A minimalist approach by composer Peter Schickele, who founded PDQ Bach, a classical music parody project. But the soundtrack also features two songs by Joan Baez, which instantly date the picture as a product of the early 70s. That's not a deal breaker, though. Don't get me wrong, the two songs are pretty and they fit, but they are very hippy-dippy, especially for modern viewers. Science is sketchy too, like why park these domes out at the orbit of Saturn? Why not in lunar orbit or a Lagrange point nearer to the Earth, in orbit of Mars or on Mars? And of the crew, only Lowell seems to have any knowledge about plants. The others have no interest in that and don't seem to do any of the work to care for the greenery in the domes. Neither do the drones. And while maybe you only need 4 crewmen to run the ship, why are there only 3 maintenance drones? Only 3 for a ship the size of the Valley Forge? Why no spares, and why no replacements? And we get up close and personal with Saturn's rings, something Trumbull and the effects team couldn't do on 2001, which is why the action in that movie takes place at Jupiter instead. But here, the rings are depicted as a sort of energy field instead of being composed of ice and dust, which we know them to be. But you know what? None of that matters. Silent Running is a portrait of a human being taking a stand in an age lacking wonder, imagination, and even humanity. It's a warning and much, much more than the sum of its parts. And it's a damn fine picture. Definitely a movie you should see. I'm giving this one 3.5 paws up. If you've never seen Silent Running, or Bruce Dern in his prime, give this one a try. Silent Running is available on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and digitally from Amazon Prime. If you go Blu-ray, get this edition from Arrow Video. It's great. So thanks again for sending that to me, Michael. I really love that picture. Thank you. You can watch another of my reviews here. And down there, you can see more reviews of movies from the 1970s. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.